Right, we're here for a little Let's Stick Together special episode. We're doing the English League finals are in a couple of days' time, and we're gonna do a little special. I'm joined, as is the new studio in my house on the kitchen table, with Henry Croft to come and give us. He's doing a wave because now we're now on YouTube again, thanks to Jack. Henry, it's lovely to have you here.
How we doing, guys? You all right? You all right, Flip?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Um, we've talked a lot about you on this pod. You're going to be like a bit of a co-host as we've had. Have you been listening back?
Yeah, I've been quite enjoying it. I seem to sort of listen away. I start laughing, and then I hear a sort of comment about me in either a good way or a I don't know, semi-bad way. But it's entertaining. So there we are.
You've got to be used to it though. Like you have a very unique style of playing hockey compared to most with the big celebrations. You like a bit of roughhousing. You like to get stuck into people. Like, is that just so normal to you?
Yeah, I think I like to play the game in a way that people want to, keep watching, something a little bit different. And I think my mum loves the fact that you keep talking about me, Phil. I'm going to be completely honest. She's a big listener of the podcast. She sits on her sofa with her finger in her ear and listens away. Hi, mum. You're right. Uh, but yeah, making clips, keeping hockey entertaining. It's fun, isn't it?
I'm actually so with you. I think it's an unbelievable thing for hockey. I would say that this is I mean we've got a lot of parents who listen to the podcast. I know the Alburys, Tim Albury's a big fan. I know Will Callan's dad is a big fan. I've now heard that you are. My mum gave me a compliment for the first time in
Really?
ages. She said that she listens, didn't even know for a while. But anyway, we are on to the English League final. So basically, like the biggest the biggest weekend in the domestic calendar. Silverware on the line, and we've got some pretty good matchups, I'd say. I would start off with the absentees who are not at the league final. So if anyone, I'm not going to bother doing the normal thing where we've got, the very complicated league phase. We've got phase one, two, and three. Phase three's just finished, and we're just going to tell you who missed out and who's actually there. So the women's teams are. I'm going to test myself and just go off memory. Is Durham University, Surbiton, Wimbledon, and Hampstead. So Durham are a very surprise addition. With the people who aren't there, the last year's champions, Reading women and East Grinstead, both like, I mean, big shocks. Would you agree with that, Croft?
Yeah, I mean, as well, I think pretty surprising the way they went out. I think EG came third, and then didn't win one game, which is, I don't know, you could potentially say a good advert for phase three. Quite entertaining. But yeah, it wasn't something I would have predicted before phase three started, that is for sure.
Yeah, they got a hell of a lot of internationals at EG, and I think what you mean by that is we have to probably explain it is that they came third in the league. So phase one and two combined, they came third in the league. We're looking pretty strong. Then they go into the table of four, which is phase three, and they lost every single game. And you actually wrote down about the last game they had against Durham. Was it Durham?
I mean, it was a hell of a pool B for the women. I think so. I think EG originally lost their first game. Just get it right here. One second. Um, I think it was to where are we here, Philip? Here we go. So they lost 3-2 to Birmingham, which was a tight affair. And then they also lost 3-2 to Durham. Um, and in that game, there was a yellow, a green, and then a red card for East Grinstead, which I don't think I've ever seen a red card in a game ever. Never mind in a Premier League game and in phase three in a potential game that could knock them out of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge shock, and I think you've probably got to be looking at yourself. The card was for their head coach, so I assume it says on 70 minutes. So Theo Dow's on 70 minutes is clearly, he's had a head loss. He's gone at the umpires. He's gone at something, and he's got himself a red card. Which fair play to you. You know, when the season's gone, you might as well just have a go.
Just go for it.
But yeah, I would say with the East Grinstead women, they've got a hell of a lot of talent in that group. You know, even just thinking off the top of my head, they've got Ellie Rhea, they've got Tess Howard, they've got
Lily,
Lily Walker, um, Grace Ballston, Amy Thompson. Really, really some solid, good international players. And to lose twice to university teams is something that I think you should be. I mean, I don't want to judge too hard here, but you've got to be looking at yourself there and seeing what actually went wrong. I haven't watched the games, but yeah, that is a huge loss. And then Reading, obviously last year's champions, to come fifth, and they've had a tough time. They went to the EHL and struggled there, and then they've also not quite made the cut. I guess it's showing also though the quality on the women's side. Maybe it's slightly more balanced.
I think, yeah, it was interesting. Last year champions not getting through. I would actually say it's a bit of an advocate for the game because I think a lot of the time at the moment, especially with the men's side, you know a lot of the games, how they're going to go, who's probably going to win. Whereas it's quite refreshing actually having some games where it's a lot more competitive, different sides have got through and shows that actually if you do have a bit of, tactical nous, you've got a chance. Which is as a Forest fan, is pretty important to me. Because if the big teams won all the time, we'd have no chance. But yeah, I think it's probably good for the game.
Agreed. I was wondering how long it would take you to bring up Nottingham Forest. Crofty is a huge Nottingham Forest fan. I actually can't believe this. I haven't actually done my research on you and your international career or anything. I normally do an introduction, but
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, screw it. We won't do that today.
not that
I might
impressive.
do. I might do an extra one, but I guess the notable absentees on the men's side is probably Holcombe and Oxted were in the semi-finals last year as a kind of surprise package. They haven't made it this year, and Holcombe lost the kind of big matchup with Hampstead and Westminster in phase three to mean that they didn't make it. Are you surprised about that?
Um, I don't think I'm surprised. I think what I would say is potentially the way the fixtures fell this year might have caused an issue for them. Because I think last year it would have been Hampstead and Holcombe on that first game, as opposed to the second. So the way it works is we have a double header. You play obviously a team on the Saturday, a team on the Sunday. And the way it would have worked last year is Hampstead would have played Holcombe on the Saturday, which may have suited them more due to their man-to-man play. But I think once they played Surbiton on that day, probably knackered, and then have to go and play Hampstead, I think it probably fell into Hampstead's hands a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they're still a very young team, Holcombe. My opinion on them is that like it, it might come good for them in the next couple of years because they've got a lot of GB development players. They've got a lot of young international players, and it takes us sometimes a little bit of time to break through. This was probably similar to Surbiton a few years ago, where they were constantly knocking at the door, had a load of young guys, but couldn't quite break through, and then suddenly just now just absolutely all over it this year. I mean, we move on to I guess both Surbiton teams are heavy favourites. Both have gone completely unbeaten this year, with Surbiton men winning every single game in the league this year. Obviously, EHL was slightly different, but um, it's hard to look past them this year. But at the same time, our very own OGs had the same season last season where we went unbeaten the whole year, and then the final came down to a very tight knit affair. What's your take? Have you got any different take to that?
Um, I don't know really. I think on both the women's and the men's side, they're building something really cool. They're playing some great hockey. As you say, they are probably the heavy favourites, but that is the beauty of a one-off game. We played them obviously in the season. We lost 2-0. We then got them in the EHL. We managed to win on shuffles. So I think it's set up for a pretty good final. And as shown last year with the women, anything can happen. I think Silverton, I can't remember completely, but I think they had a pretty good year as well on that side. And then obviously Reading pipped them in the final. So yeah, who knows?
And moving on to the actual semi-final matchups, you've got Surbiton are playing Wimbledon on the men's side with it's a derby, it's a decent matchup, it's a repeat of last year's semi-final. Do you see any way that Wimbledon can top them, or is there what would you do if you were Carl Stagno, the Wimbledon coach?
Yeah, fine. Do I see a way they can top them? There's always a way, obviously, when you've got Super Hooper who does do his S&C. Um, I think I'm parking the bus. I'm telling the lads to get their left hand on the floor. I'm playing a bit like Gantois, I think, and then you know send Harper on his merry way. Few balls over the top, get the fast lads running in behind, win the odd corner, let Hoops do his thing, and then you just never know. But I would say they're probably up against it in complete reality.
I love that. I love that tactical now. You just sound like a Premier League manager. Um, and then the other men's semi-final is us OGs versus Hampstead. You know, we beat them in phase two 4-1, but we also lost them in phase one 2-0. Um, they had a really weird phase three where Hampstead have been pretty solid all year. I would say they've got a really good flicker, pretty solid team, good coach. But the last phase three game they played Surbiton in a look in who would become first and second in that group, and they lost 10-0, which is just absolutely mental. Would not have, Surbiton have been good, but Hampstead have also been, the third, fourth best team in the league this year. What was your thoughts when you saw that?
Yeah, my first thought was, blimey, that is an absolute pasting. That's pretty tough for the boys. But then I also thought maybe like after three, they sort of accepted, right, we're not going to win this game. Let's make sure nobody gets injured because they do have a few boys that, are a little bit more injury prone. So that could have been it. Might be making excuses. May have just got panned. Well, they did get panned. But yeah, maybe that isn't amazing for us because they're probably going to look at it now, tighten things up. But yeah, was pretty shocking.
Yeah, yeah, and like I say, I think that will be a good game. Hampstead, are, dangerous. I think we're obviously we're hitting a little bit of form in the last couple of weeks. We've had some big wins. We managed to beat Oxted a 10-0. We beat EG 5-1, and then we beat Wimbledon on the weekend 4-1, to put ourselves in a nice position in this semi final. 5-1, 4-1. Was it 5-1? Okay, 5-1. So yeah, I think that will be a pretty exciting final. In terms of the men and players to watch, Croft,
Yeah.
who've you who are you watching out for? Like, what are you thinking about? I guess if you're looking at it from a fan perspective.
Fine. Okay, fan perspective, probably going to have to look at Phil Roper. What? No, fine. I'm probably looking at Mazzarella in goal. He's going to be massive for, well, I'll say for us, even though I suppose I'm a fan at the minute. Um, Probably looking for a big celebration out of Croft. That's normally quite funny. Banders, he's been on fire, hasn't he? So can't really look past him. And then always your drag flickers. You're probably looking at Hooper, Furlong, Wardy. Wardy also in general play. He's pretty hilarious. Stephans, yeah. I think they're the guys. And then also, your difference makers that you don't necessarily always see in the limelight, like David Ames, Stu, people like that in the midfield, Jammer. Yeah. I've named some good players, I know there. Come on. I mean, if you want people to watch, they're your list, aren't they? Write it down. There you go.
I'm gonna try and like condense that a little bit.
Yeah.
So Nick Mandrack, top goal scorer this year. I think he scored 32 goals. Pretty impressive. It's a lot of goals. Someone that I know Surbiton have kind of based their attack around. They know that getting the ball into D is going to be a danger. I would say, yeah, that the flickers. You're right with them. I would say, naming a couple of extra ones who maybe go under the radar. Connor Williamson for Surbiton is just the guy who runs everything for them at the back and has just become a world class player. At the same time, I'm going to call out Tim Cross, who plays right back for Hampstead. Is an incredibly dangerous player and someone we're going to have to definitely look after on the weekend, because he's a really exciting right half. And then, yeah, we'll move on quickly to the women's semi-finals. So Hampstead are playing Wimbledon in a kind of second, third matchup. They've been, looking strong, both with heaps of international talent on display. And then Surbiton versus Durham, which I think should be an absolute rollover, unless an absolute miracle happens. Surbiton have been incredibly strong on the women's side, and they have some top players. What's your take on them two games? Who are you thinking is the women's final? Sorry, before we go, I think you'd be heavy set to say it's a repeat of last year's final on the men's side.
Yes.
But on the women's side, it's open. I think that Hampstead Wimbledon game is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at sort of the games before we started the podcast, and to be fair, the Wimbledon and Hampstead games throughout the season, they're both pretty solid. So that is pretty hard to call. Who is going to go through? I think I'm going to back Hampstead because I think they did win all of their games in phase three. They've been scoring goals, keeping it out at the back, and I think they've just got a bit more firepower.
Yeah, and let's go ones to watch without naming 32 names. Do you reckon you can do that? I'll start. I'll say ones to watch. I know Darcy Bourne's been one of the top goal scorers this year. I'm always a huge fan of watching Katie Curtis play for Surbiton. I think she's a fantastic player as well as Amy Costello. In some of the teams, got a name Anna Toman, captain of Wimbledon, fantastic player. I think always such a consistent player for them. And then Hampstead Holly Hunt, I know has been on very good form, so definitely someone to watch.
Yeah, a couple of players to look out for. I think we're going to go with a couple of goalkeepers, Jess Buchanan and Aisha McFerrin. I think if those guys play well, that'll be huge for them getting into the final and in the final potentially getting over the line, especially if it does go to shuffles. And then also, I was looking at Hampstead's top goal scorer in Pool B. We got Catherine Ledesma. Two reasons, three goals in that phase three, but also I just think what a name. That's a prime Barclays name. If you had, Didier Drogba, Wayne Rooney, Catherine Ledesma, sounds like it all fits. So yeah, I reckon that's someone to watch.
Jesus, right, nice, nice, Crofty. Um, Yeah, what about? I mean, let's go into a little bit of Badger stuff. Like, what about the tactics on show? Like, I guess we're gonna speak men here. Like, I don't think it's pretty tough for us when we're playing to follow the women's game. But like, in terms of the different styles on show, um, what are we looking for? If you were watching on the live stream, if you're gonna go down and watch, what type of style are you gonna see from the teams?
Yeah, I think you know that when you watch Surbiton, you're going to get man to man. They're going to go for it. I think they like to counter attack, but they'll also like to control the ball. I think the interesting ones will be, to be honest, will be Hampstead and Wimbledon. How they go about playing, because I think you know both of them have it in them to try and go toe to toe against us and Surbiton. But they also could go the other way in terms of low blocks, potentially a bit more counter attacking, and I think it'll be quite an interesting watch. Yeah, because they're going to have to do something different to change the results that have gone in the season, and yeah, I think those two will be one to look out for.
Yeah, I think Wimbledon, especially with I know with Carl Stagner, their coach, he's always drawing up his X's and O's, and he'll definitely have a plan that he thinks will be able to make it really difficult for Surbiton. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out and attack Surbiton. Um, Obviously, we're a little bit more, we haven't got age on our side. Croft is our youngest guy by about 15 years, so it'll be interesting to see, how we tackle the first semi final to then give us the legs for last year. I think interesting looking back on last year was we were a bit depleted. We had a couple of injuries going into that final, so made it pretty difficult against a very fresh Surbiton team. But I think it could be a really exciting weekend. I guess what are your predictions then? If we're going to go for, let's go for a which teams are going to be in the final for both men and women, and then let's go for a correct score for both.
And I reckon whoever wins gets a shawarma from the other person. You happy with that? No, actually, fantastic. Okay, fine. Where are we kicking it off? Should we do our game first? Okay. I think we are going to win our semi-final 5-2. What do you fancy, Phil?
I'll go with a repeat, and I'll go for 4-1. I'll just kick us off with the Surbiton Wimbledon game, and I'm going to go for a 6-2 to Surbiton.
Wow. Okay. See, I can see a tighter affair, and I think they are going to do my sort of, can I swear on this podcast? Shithouse tactics. I think they're going to put the left hand on the floor, and they've got a lot of firepower off the top, which I think is going to cause. I think they're still not going to quite go over the line, but I think they're going to lose 4-2. But it's going to be tight all the way, and then maybe concede the fourth to an open goal. Next game. What's next game? Fine. Hampstead Wimbledon. Ooh, that is a tough one. I think this will be tight. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Desmond 2-2 with Wimbledon to go through on shuffles. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, I'm also going to say it's a very low scoring affair, but I'm going to go with 1-0 Wimbledon. And then Surbiton versus Durham. I think Durham are going to come out hot. I think they're going to stay with Surbiton for the first quarter, maybe two quarters, and then Surbiton are going to run away with it and win 5-0.
Yeah, this does have a makings of a toasting, doesn't it? Oh, if you stop it there, 9-0. It's going to be a bad one. It's going to be a really bad one.
Right, so that means I think we've both come with the same finals, which is a Wimbledon Surbiton on the women's side and an OG's Surbiton on the men's side. I think we're in a tricky spot here because we're obviously biased. We're obviously going to call ourselves, we're going to back ourselves, so which makes it a little bit tricky. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to just kick us off with a. I'll do both 3-2 win for OGs. And oh no, actually, I'm going to change it. I'm going to say a 2-all and we win on shootout because we've got Mighty Mazzarello. And then I'm going to go with a 4-1 win for Surbiton on the women's side.
Yeah, the Maz man is massive, isn't it? What a guy, what a player. Hmm. I'm gonna say we win 3-1 in the final. I think Maz plays out of his skin. Um, Women, I think it'll be closer than that. I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win to Surbiton. Um, yeah, last minute sort of winner from a corner. That'd be great, great for the game.
And I guess we haven't spoke about it very much, which is it's at Surbiton Hockey Club, as you've heard in the advert. They've done a pretty top job of their clubhouse, the setup. It was there, the finals were there 2 years ago. It was actually a really, really good setup. I mean, if you are in the vicinity, if you're listening in London, if you're free this weekend, I would urge you to go and get yourself a ticket, come down, watch. There's some unbelievable kind of players. There should be some really, really good games on show. Hopefully they're, the food stands, whatever goes up. But this is what we've talked about a lot on Let's Stick Together, where it's, we're trying to improve the domestic game, and this is one way of doing it. This is the biggest weekend of the year, but what really makes it is the fans. What makes it is the people who are passionate about teams winning or just good hockey. How much of a difference do you think that makes, Croft?
Yeah, massive. I mean, it's one of the reasons, we love to play. It's one of the reasons I love to play. I haven't been able to play in the finals since I was 17. And ever since then, I've really wanted to get back just because it's an amazing weekend. The vibes around it are really cool, and playing in front of people that love the game as much as you love playing it is always pretty special. So yeah, if you do have a free weekend, want to get down, maybe bring some people that don't even know about hockey. Try and grow the game as well, That'd be great.
What an advert you are. What an advert. I would say I was going to wrap it up here because this has been just a short. We did this last year, just a little preview of the England Hockey League finals. I'm very glad that you've been here with me today, Croft. You've got a great voice, great face for the radio. Um, um, it's, but no, we're definitely going to have you back on. You and Yoop need to clear the air after your run-ins and get you back on here. But thank you very much, mate.
No, thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Right, this has been Let's Stick Together, special episode, uh, mini league finals. See you next time.
Not about yourself.